Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage, on what was a quiet Saturday afternoon. First I was going to shoot this video outside and a dog started barking over that direction, closely followed by what sounds like a concert going on. If you listen closely, you'll hear muted music. Hopefully it's not enough to get me demonetized. I don't recognize the music, so we'll take a chance. It might even be live, but I don't know who, what, when, where, or why, but it's probably not going to go over well with the neighbors. Me, I'll just close the door and keep on doing stuff. I was outside making noise earlier. I didn't get a chance to even start on this bench project, nor did I plan on doing it, but I want to show of hands who didn't see this coming. I decided around lunchtime I had an hour to kill, or to use wisely, so I grabbed my Milwaukee M18 cordless disc sander. I love that thing, and my grinder, because the top of the bench was pretty rough. There was weld spatter and knots of weld and stuff like that, so I had to grind those down. And then I started sanding. I did wear a mask because the sanding discs that I have, the Milwaukee sanding discs have big holes in it, and I have some 3M discs that have smaller holes, and it doesn't suck up the dust quite as efficiently, so I started to taste rust, so I went and got a mask. Fortunately, we all stock about 1,000 of them, so I went to the old COVID supplies from back in the day, which that memory is getting further and further in the mirror, hopefully, and started sanding. And I gave it 1 hour to grind, sand, and paint. 1 can of gloss machinery gray was just barely enough. I mean, it could use a second coat, but hey, it's better than rust. I wasn't even gonna paint it, but I couldn't help myself, so. The top took most of the time. It's actually rougher than I thought it was, but that'll happen. And then I pushed it inside, went to eat lunch, cleaned up, and wasn't going to add any features to it. But I have this one particular vise. It's mounted on a receiver hitch. I actually bought it just like that, mounted on a receiver hitch. And it's the only vise I don't use. It's been sitting under the grinder, getting caked with grinding dust and everything else. So I did a little digging in my scrap, came up with a piece of cut-off receiver hitch, and drilled the hole in it slightly larger than 5/8 for the pin, because I use a regular hitch pin like you'd have in the back of your pickup. And the bottom of the receiver hitch portion, I drill a 1/2-inch hole, weld a nut, and make a T-handled bolt. So if you just put the put the receiver hitch in, it's like you want in your truck. You can grab it and move it up and down. Not something you want when you're trying to work on whatever you got stuck in there, because I have every attachment known that I have on a receiver hitch. My throatless shear, my arbor press, all my transmission fixtures, everything. So this bench would be a lot handier with just 1 receiver hitch in it. It'd be handier with more receiver hitches in it, but again, I'm trying not to get carried away. So I initially thought about building something for the square tubing where they're open on the end of the bench, and then thought better of it because nothing fits in. I'd have to make a piece of square tubing, then I'd only have 1 little adapter. And I prefer a vise on this end of the bench right there. I guess, I don't know, that's the way it makes sense to me. I'm naturally, I gravitate, if I'm going to put a vise on a bench, it's on the right side front. So maybe I should explore why I think like that. But anyway, I like it the long way because this swivels, and if you're working on a drive shaft or something, you can put 1/2 on the bench, turn the vise so it's going this way. And this vise swivels, has pipe jaws. It's a Bessie. I guess that's a good vise. I have it, and now it has a permanent home. And I love the fact that I can roll this thing anywhere. And I'm going to try to keep it that way. I've had it outside 3 or 4 times today. I got up early. I was going to start working on the motor mounts on the 55, which I'm sitting underneath of. And I think, wow, it'd be super handy if I had a bench to work on. So that's what I did. The music just kicked into high gear again. While I had scraps of box tubing laid out on the bench, I finally fulfilled something, a need that it took way less time than it did thinking about it all these years, thinking, I need a hole, a portable hole. The first workbench that I could call mine on a job is when I worked at the Chrysler dealer. They had these little, they were commercially made benches. They might have been 4 feet wide, probably less. Each bay had one. It had a drawer under it. It might have been 4 feet wide, and it had a hole bored in it because that's how, it was a Chrysler dealer, especially 904 and 727 transmissions. They don't really have a way to put them in a transmission fixture, so you stick it in a hole somewhere so it'll stand straight up and down so you can load all the parts in and out. When you're working on like the forward drum on a Turbo 400, I have those forks over my other bench that you see clamped on the bench most of the time, and I can put the whole lower unit or the forward drum in there. But if you just had a suspended hole laying out in the air somewhere, it's amazing. I mean, it seems so simple, but you don't ever see them for sale. I don't see other people doing it, so I just took a piece of square tubing. I wanted it to stick out enough so whatever I'm working on, it has plenty of clearance. I don't want it to be flush in with the bench. I ground one side completely flat. I did a little coping, this is a piece of round stock I have over by my press where I collect round things for pressing off and on. You never know what size you're going to need. I stole 2 inches of it, and now I have a portable hole. Who knew that was my dream in life, to have a portable hole? The next time I come up with another piece of box tubing that's receiver hitch size, it's 2-inch ID, I'll probably put one on that side too. I swear I'm not going to make it like a battleship, but it would be nice to have a transmission fixture, say, on that side and still have the use of your vise on the other side, because in the vise I clamp my drum spring compressor. So I'm kind of tired of plugging up my big bench when I do transmissions, so this is transmission size, and I could do it anywhere I wanted to in the shop. Not that I don't have other areas, but you know me, I got to keep it interesting, I guess, or new and exciting, I guess. There you go. So here's an old bench that exactly 24 hours ago this minute I pulled in the yard with. An hour before that, yesterday, I didn't even know I was looking for another bench. I'm always looking for more workbenches. If I had more space, if I had a bigger building, I'd have another 300 yards worth of benches or horizontal storage devices. But your phone, I've mentioned this before, and I swear I don't wear a tinfoil hat, but you know that thing's listening all the time. And once you click on something, like on Marketplace, I've clicked on a few workbenches. There's been some brand new ones for sale locally for $600 or $700. They're a nice looking bench, built with minimal steel. I mean, you don't get much, but steel is expensive. It doesn't have a complete upper and lower frame like this one does. This is very similar to how I built my big bench. So I was kind of attracted to it. I wouldn't have offset well, maybe I would have, I don't know. It's all built, so I'm not going to change it, but hey, it was wicked cheap. I dragged it home, and now it's a usable piece. Maybe just one more receiver hitch, and we'll have it all customized. But the next job it's going to do, I'm going to roll it up under the engine, and we're going to try to fix the motor mounts in the 55 somewhere, and I got to find it. I made a saddle, a U-shaped saddle, to go up to the oil pan rails on the engine to miss the oil pan, and under that I can put my stand or my transmission jack or something to hold the engine still and level while I refab the mounts. And I want to make the point, I'm afraid, when I was thinking about it this morning, that I might have sounded negative about the black 55 and some of the things that I've found that I'm fixing. If you watch my videos, you're familiar with the fact that I just talk about what's in front of me, often not thinking about, it might be hurting somebody's feelings. Not what are my intentions to do. I just talk about the issue or the problem. Like when somebody brings me a transmission, I don't care who built it or how it got there. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing and what we got to do to fix it. So this car is no different. So I could build, if I built this car and put 4,000 miles on it and the motor mounts are broken, that could very well happen. The trick is to find a way to make it not happen again. That's all that really matters. So I love the car. I'm going to love it even more now that I get to work on it. I literally bought it, drove it for 5 weeks, had a great time, and we're going to have more good times coming up. So I never thought I would own a Tri-5 Chevy, let alone 2 of them. And yeah, we're just going to love it. So I don't think the guy that built it even watches my channel, but I wouldn't want to, I thought about it, said, geez, I want to hurt anybody's feelings, because I'm not. Now, I've said it all. So that's where I come from. That's from the heart. That's how I truly believe it. I'm not going to say so-and-so did this or that. That's not me. So I'm just see a problem, fix problem, move on to next problem. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and I'll catch you maybe tomorrow, maybe in a couple days. So it's supposed to rain for a couple days, so what are you going to do? Still April showers.